Hi, everyone, and welcome to our virtual event. This is Life as an Older Adult, 3 important things you need to know. My name is Patty Dorn, and I'm with the Maryland Insurance Administration, and I'm going to be your host for this event today. Thank you to our presenters here today, and thank you to those of us who have joined us as attendees. We at the Maryland Insurance Administration are dedicated to educating and advocating for Maryland's older adults. And we've designed our event today to educate older adults in Maryland about 3 important issues. So today we'll be talking about winter preparedness. We're going to talk about winter preparedness tips for older adults. And we're going to talk about why having a will is so important for you and also for your family. And then I'm going to talk to you about homeowners insurance and why it is still important to have homeowners insurance even after you have paid off your mortgage. Today we have representatives joining us from the Anne Arundel County Office of Emergency Management and from Baltimore City Office of the Register of Wills. Phones and computers will be on mute for this event. After our speakers have presented, there will be a Q&A session. If you have questions throughout the event, please type your question into the chat box. So be sure that you're using the chat box and not the box that says Q&A, chat box. And it's helpful to specify who your question is for if you know, although I can probably figure it out. Keep your questions addressed to everyone. And so you're going to have the choice, leave it as the default, everyone, and I'm going to be back at the end to ask the questions during the Q&A session. And with that, Joyce Peach from the Maryland Insurance Administration will now be introducing our speakers.
Thank you, Patty. First up, we have Paula Cox, Assistant Chief Deputy of the Probate Proceedings Department for the Register of Wills for Baltimore City.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. On behalf of the Honorable Belinda K. Conaway, we want to say thank you for having us today to give you some information about the services we offer here at the Register of Wills. Again, I am from the Register of Wills for Baltimore City. So in the state of Maryland, each county has their own registrar's office. So today I will be speaking on behalf of the registers for Baltimore City. All right, what does the Register of Wills do? The Register of Wills and Orphans Court ensures the distribution of assets of the decedent as they established in the Maryland States and Trusts and Laws, excuse me, which is outlined in the decedent's last will and testament. A decedent is a person that his or her last wishes to be carried out. Heirs and legatees and creditors, they will receive what they're entitled to, and the state of Maryland that has the proper taxes and fees will be collected. What is a will? A will is a legal declaration of a person's wishes regarding the disposal of his or her property after their death. Wills have existed for some time. They've been around since the ancient Greek and Roman. And you need to, consider this. Over 3,500 years ago, over 3,500 years ago, we have an ancient Greek. There was a young lady who had 8 children, and in her will, she put out that they had legal rights equal to men and could dispose of their wealth as they have pleased. She lived well into her 80s, and in her will, she said some of her children would be recipients of. I am so sorry. God. You can go to the next slide, sorry. Says, for me, I am a free woman of the land of Pharaoh. I have brought up these 8 servants of yours, and I gave them a household. Everything in it is customary for their heirs, but I am growing old. And whichever of them has given me a hand, to him I will give my property. Whichever of him has not, I will not give my property. So in the will, you see, she stated her wishes. If you helped her out, she was going to help leave something to you. If not, she didn't. And that's the opportunity you have by creating a will. And today, family disputes are nothing new. It happens all the time. Who needs a will? Anyone who wants to ensure that their legal rights are protected, his or her intentions and desires, and that are directed to be carried out after their death. A will is one of the most important legal documents. It's a legal declaration of the person's intentions and desires that he or she directs to be carried out after their death. Making a will can specify how you want your property distributed after your death. You can name your personal representative who has the responsibility to collect the asset, pay the bills, and distribute your assets accordingly. Here is some helpful vocabulary. What is an estate? An estate is everything you own, all your property and assets, even if it has loans against them. For example, a house. And we have 2 estates. We have a small estate and a regular estate. Testate means you die and you have a valid will. Intestate is if you die and you don't have a will. Probate, that's the legal process by which the ownership of your property is transferred to living beneficiaries. The court also uses the probate process to establish the validity of a will when the decedent has left one. Consider this. A husband has been separated from his wife for over 20 years, but they never proceed with a divorce. Upon his death, his assets, or some portion of them, might be directed to the estranged wife instead of his children. So if you're married and you're separated, you might want to get a divorce. That way your assets are secure. Small estate versus regular estate. If the property of the decedent is subject to administration in Maryland, it is established to have a value of $50,000 or less. If the property of the decedent subject to administration in Maryland has a value in excess of $50,000, if a spouse is the sole legatee, the estate shall be administered as a regular estate. What are assets? Assets are your property, such as a house, a car, jewelry, antiques, even property outside of the state are considered to be your assets. Accounts such as checking and savings, your 401k, stocks and bonds, and will estates generate money after death? For example, if you have a music contract and you're receiving royalties or book deals, or if you have asbestos litigation, those would be assets that would be generated after death. Personal representative. This is very important because your personal representative is the person that you will list and name as the one to be in charge of your estate upon your death. How do I select a personal representative? Well, you want to select someone who is willing to do the job. That's first and foremost. Someone who is trustworthy and organized, good at communicating with others, and familiar with your financial matters and anything, or that are able to collect your mail and anything at your time of death. Be prepared. Be prepared. Make sure that your will is registered and that all of your paperwork is organized and accessible to your personal representative. What happens if you die without a will? Well, if you die without a will, then we would follow the intestate laws of the state of Maryland, and that directs the order of the priority for those individuals to serve as your personal representative in the estate. The orphan court will appoint a guardian for minor children, and the further assets, by default, they go to the Board of Education if we're unable to locate the heirs. Consider this. Your family members have strong personalities and they do not agree on much. And that's the case with a lot of families. If you don't have a written will, the clear directives for your assets and property, your family could spend years in probate. So that's why it's very important to have a will with your wishes written down. Does the Register of Wills write my will for me? No, we do not write wills here. We're a public office that is established under the Constitution of Maryland, which provides for a Register of Wills in each county of Baltimore City. The Register is elected every 4 years, and the Register of Wills has a designated employee. They may assist you, we can advise, but we also have some resources that we can share with you in order to help you be able to prepare a will. But we do not write wills for anyone. Consider this. You don't have any children, but you would like to develop a scholarship for a young woman studying science. And your will might outline that as a portion of your assets to be directed or established to contribute such an existing scholarship. I'm sorry. Safekeeping of your will. Your will can be filed at the Register of Wills for a one-time fee of $5. So it's not a renewing fee. It's just one time you pay your $5. Your will be deposited in our office, will be kept in the vault, safe, so you'll know where it's at. No one can destroy it, tear it up, and the only person that can retrieve it back is yourself. Consider this. Ensure that your will is filed with our office. If your will has not been formally registered with our office, this could lead to the will being lost, changed, or destroyed. Wills are important historical documents. The Baltimore City Register of Wills office consulted with the Library of Congress to make these age-old records more accessible to researchers and the general public without jeopardizing the precious artifacts. Consider this. The records that we maintain on this site here at the Registrar's office in Baltimore City date back as far as 1776. Our staff is here to support you. Even though through this most challenging times right now, our office has been here serving the public during this pandemic, and we have maintained the ability to service you and your families. Road pandemic precautions. Though we do our best to address your needs via phone and email, there may be time when you need to visit the office. So just in case, all business is conducted in a well-ventilated spaces, all visitors and staff are required to wear masks, and we provide hand sanitizers and a clipboard and pen for you to take with you. Listed now is our contact information. We are located at 111 North Calvert Street, which is in downtown Baltimore on the 3rd floor. We have several different offices here, but when you get off the elevator, someone is at the Welcome Center that can direct you. Our telephone lines are listed along with a free toll-free number and the website. This is just a slide showing the Register of Wills homepage that you can access. Here are a few additional resources: the Baltimore Senior Legal Services and the Commission on Aging and Retirement. They also have attorneys that are available. Some of them work pro bono and some work according to your age and income that can provide free legal services. Some more resources continued here: St. Ambrose, the Bar Association, and the Senior Center. So again, on behalf of the Honorable Belinda Connolly, I say thank you so much for having us today, and I'll be here to answer any questions you may have. Have a great day.
Thank you, Paula. Up next, we have Jim Krempel from the Community Outreach Coordinator for the Anne Arundel County Office of Emergency Management.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jim Krempel, and as mentioned, I'm Community Outreach and Volunteer Coordinator for Anne Arundel County. I'll talk to you today about some winter preparedness tips as we age, and I like to count myself in that group. I'm 67 years old and pretty proud of that. Next slide. So the first thing we'll do is get some weather terminology out of the way. If you watch WJZ and some of the other news broadcasts, you'll hear the weather given for each day. The first thing is outlook, which looks across the week. So for this week, for example, we're actually having unseasonably warm weather. It's kind of like spring now, but come Wednesday and Thursday, we'll have very heavy rain leading into a cold front. We'll be back to fall weather. So weather this time of year is very changeable. So we ask you during this long week to be prepared for anything, and we'll tell you how to get prepared in just a second. An advisory is a hazard that could cause an inconvenience. It's not necessarily life-threatening, but if you take a commute from, say, Anne Arundel County into Baltimore or Howard County, you know that even an inch of snow on the ground can be dangerous, so plan very carefully. A watch means severe weather is possible. So you want to stay tuned to your weather information source, and we'll talk about that too for later forecasts to keep up to date. So be ready. And finally, a warning is when severe weather is likely, has already been spotted to be occurring, and it could possibly be life-threatening. That means take action, and we'll work through all of these. So winter can provide a whole host of things that we have to worry about. Of course, extreme cold is the first one we think about. The record cold for the state of Maryland, believe it or not, is 40 below zero. That's Alaska kind of temperatures. That was out in Garrett County in the 1800s. Baltimore City's cold record is 9 below zero. It's happened actually several times. Blowing snow is something we always worry about. It has visibility hazard, but it also builds up into snow mounds, which can either block us in or create mobility problems. I think the worst thing we face in Maryland is an ice storm. Ice storms provide very treacherous conditions, whether it's on your walkway or on streets, and it also makes the trees and wires heavy with ice and causes power failures. Of course, we face heavy snow. If you're around in 2011, we had the back-to-back 18-inch snows, and we do get freezing rain where it goes between rain and actual ice. And then the snow can melt and build up and cause what's called an ice jam, and an ice jam would then block any water that would come behind it. So you have both flooding and snow at the same time. So as older people, we have to worry about a number of things. We worry about exposure. That is being outdoors and getting yourself exposed to the point it becomes dangerous. We worry about winter illness. We're talking about just the general illness you might have. We might talk about some of the chronic illness you might have, the flu, or of course, COVID, which we'll discuss in a second. One of the things everyone should worry about is falls. Things look more sturdy than they are. They could be treacherous, easy to fall and break something. And of course, hazardous activities, we ask everyone, especially older people, to be very careful in what they do during the winter. We'll talk about these. So first thing we ask you to do is help slow the spread of COVID. As you know, the pandemic is in the increase phase right now, but doing your part's very easy. The first thing and the easiest thing is to wear a mask. There's nothing political about wearing a mask. If you wear a mask and I wear a mask, the chances of us exchanging those germs is 70% less than without a mask. So it's just common sense. Then use social distancing, stay 6 feet apart. Paula talked about how the Registrar of Wills is doing some very good implementation of these, including that distancing. Wash your hands. Wash your hands with soap and water thoroughly. And while you're doing it, do it for 20 seconds. An easy way to remember that is to sing the happy birthday song to yourself, hopefully, twice, and that'll give you 20 seconds. And then if you think you've been exposed or you don't feel well, go ahead and get tested. Testing is free in almost every county. I know in our county, we have several locations where you can do it for free. Most importantly for people our age is to get a seasonal flu shot. So one pandemic is more than enough. We don't want a flu pandemic and a COVID pandemic. The flu shots are again, readily available and easy to administer. We talk about exposure. One of the things we worry about is hypothermia. That's when your body temperature gets 95 degrees or below. 98.6 or so is about normal for most people. As you start moving south of 95 degrees, then your system starts shutting down. And the warning signs are confusion, shivering, difficulty speaking, sleepiness, especially if it's not in a situation where somebody would likely be sleepy, and then really stiff muscles. Now, some of us who are older might experience some of these at one time or another. But if all these comes together, it's an indication of two things that could be very dangerous. One is hypothermia, where your body temperature is going low, and the other could be signs of a stroke. So in either case, if in doubt, call 911. Let the experts sort it out. So talk about a little bit about emergency preparedness during winter, especially for those of us that are older. Simply making a plan, building a kit, and staying informed. So we know, we plan, and we act. So the first thing we ask you to do is build a support network if you don't have one. So that means at least 2 people you trust. Could be family members, could be trusted neighbors or friends, or it could be professional caregivers if you need one or have one. Make sure those trusted support providers have an extra key to your home. If you trust them enough with your life, you trust them with the key to your home. Let them know where you keep your medicine and any emergency supplies, how to use life-saving equipment or administer medicines that you might need. And especially they should know how to contact 911 and or your doctor. So we say never shelter in place alone. If we do get a snowstorm, a winter storm, or ice storm, then we say if you cannot shelter with somebody you can trust, then go ahead and move to a place you can. 2 heads are better than 1. Sheltering in place with 2 gives you double chance of protection. So plan for cold weather, common sense. So check on the weather in advance of going outside and plan ahead about what you're going to do. If you're already in a warm residence, go ahead and shelter there. Outlast the snowstorm or ice storm in that residence. If you don't think you have the power stability or you don't have the heat, then go ahead and move to a warmer residence with a family member or a friend, or you can reach out to the county government if you need more help. Bundle up, mask up, and limit exposure. Stay on cleared paths. It's bad enough that there's icy sidewalks and icy streets, but once a path has been cleared, then it's best to stay on that for lessening chances of fall. And for that matter, travel together. Again, 2 is always better than 1 in any preparedness situation. Let others know where you are and where you're going so that they have an idea where you'll be in case something happens and you don't check in. And by all means, ask for help with winter tasks. So if you're snow shoveling and you're over 65, particularly if you have a chronic condition, don't do it. Ask a teenager for help. Ask a neighbor for help. Eat healthy and stay hydrated and know your health at all times, no matter what's going on, but especially in an emergency. Knowing your health means talking to your doctor and then knowing what your body tells you, what is right and what is wrong. And going along with that is knowing what your limits are. If you don't normally snow shovel, you don't want to start during winter. Cold weather and old age is not a good thing to go together. And then please keep a safe eye on your neighbors, no matter what age they are or condition they are. But if you do it safely. Wear a mask and keep that 6-foot distancing. If you have special medical needs, especially if you have chronic illness or a disability, you have to plan carefully and early. So go ahead and work with your support network to keep an updated list of all your prescriptive medications, their dosages, and any known allergies you might have. If you can, keep a 1-month supply of prescription medication on hand. That way, even if we go into a COVID lockdown, you'll still be protected, not to mention a snow or ice storm. Have the phone numbers for your doctors and pharmacists and share that with your trusted support network. Have spare medical devices, such as extra cane or a walker, hearing aids, and extra batteries available. Before a storm is not the time to start looking for this. If you have a medical alert bracelet, make sure you're wearing that if you need it and need to evacuate. And if you use an emergency response call system, such as a button call, make sure that that works, test it before the storm, and have extra batteries for that if needed. Remember that home healthcare services, if you have someone to come in to give you physical therapy or medical care, may be interrupted in a storm. So check ahead with your healthcare provider to make sure they'll still do that. And if you have special transportation needs, especially if a caregiver or family member needs to drive you, make sure you've arranged that in advance. All common sense, but it needs to be done in advance of a storm. If you have life-sustaining medical equipment, like home oxygen, plan for it before the storm. So make sure you have spare bottles, cannulas, or masks if they're available. If not, talk to your supplier. They may be able to supply you in advance or even possibly during the storm, but don't wait for that. Plan ahead. You can also use an oxygen concentrator with your doctor's permission with extra batteries. If you have essential medical equipment like an LVAD or a CPAP device, contact your supply company to talk about backup power for that. Learn how to connect and start backup power supplies, and to teach your family, caregivers, and trusted neighbors how to use that backup power. So again, you have yourself, an alternate, and an alternate to the alternate. If you don't have a generator and the power goes out for a long time, plan to relocate to a place with reliable power. Again, it could be a family member, a friend, or you can contact the county. The BGE has a special needs program. I show the numbers here, and you can get copies of that later, to include those for experiencing deafness. And then they have a special needs hotline during emergency events that they can concentrate on getting your power back on sooner if you have a medical need. So good things to remember. Next slide. If you have an urgent medical appointment, like a dialysis appointment, go ahead and find out from your clinic in advance if they're going to be operational during the storm. How does your plan fit with their plan? So if they're not operational, they might give you alternatives that might allow you to skip an appointment, or they may give you another location to go to. If it's open, you still have the appointment, then determine how you're going to get to and from that clinic. Can you drive yourself, or do you need a family member or caregiver to take you? If you still need additional assistance, you can call the county or city Department of Aging and Disabilities or the Office of Emergency Management. Have a family communications plan. So that's simply a written communications plan where you and your support network know who's going to contact one another. That can include family, trusted friends, trusted neighbors, and all of that, but also add work and school contacts and include your grandkids and great-grandkids and other important numbers you might have. Have an out of area or even out of state switchboard operator. So this is a person that's going to get calls from your whole family to let everyone else know that you're in good condition. It could be a relative or a trusted friend. And it's shown on the slide here what you need to send, and text is more reliable if the phones go down, who you are, where you are, and what your status is. So as you see here, Aunt Mabel's at her cousin's in Towson, and she's safe and comfortable, so the family doesn't have to worry about her. By the way, if you don't text, just find a teenager. They'll help you happily. This is a household emergency kit. So we say be self-sufficient for at least 5 days. That's the longest period it's going to take for us to get through the snow and ice to get to you. These are mostly common sense items. And most of you, as you look through this list, have these things at home. What you don't do is plan to have them together in advance of a storm. You don't want to say, I'm missing something 2 days before a major snowstorm and go to Giant and find the shelves absolutely bare. So we look at those things that are common sense that you might need. And we've added some things that are shown in green that are good for the COVID. So you see, we're now talking about 5 days supply, including face coverings. So that's 2 surgical or cloth masks and surgical gloves. Have soap and hand sanitizer, and of course, extra toilet paper aboard. We always talk about toilet paper being needed for the winter. Well, it's doubly important right now. Next slide. So to be prepared, you've got to stay informed. So we ask you to go ahead and stay informed of your favorite radio or TV station. All of the stations in this area, plus the online stations in Sirius XM, are all part of the emergency alert system. That's the irritating 3 buzzes that you hear on the TV or radio, followed by a tone. The trick is, if you hear the tone, the high-pitched tone, listen carefully. That's going to be a real emergency. You'll be getting instructions. So all those systems will send that to you. Next slide. Now, all of the counties have mass notification systems of one or another. Maryland Prepares is a statewide system managed by the Maryland Emergency Management Agency. You can download that from the App Store or from Google Play, and that'll give you preparation instructions, everything I'm talking about, plus give you alerts of things coming, especially weathers. And then it has an I'm safe button for those who are also registered to tell them you're safe, much like that switchboard we talked about. You'll see we don't use sirens in most part of Maryland anymore. Some of the rural areas might, but in most of the cities and urban areas, suburban areas, you can't hear them anymore. Most people are indoors or in their cars, and it doesn't give further information. So we use mass notification systems. Very easy to do. Next slide. There are a number of preparedness resources you can do. So the first thing is go to your county or your city Office of Emergency Management. All 23 counties and the 3 cities, municipalities of Maryland have that. Can you name the 3 municipalities? Well, the first one's obviously Baltimore. The second one is Annapolis. No one gets the third one unless you live there, and that's Ocean City. Now, there are another number of other small towns that have emergency managers, but they're not necessarily independent jurisdictions. You can also contact your Department of Aging and Disabilities, both at the state and county and city level. They're also a wealth of information, particularly for older people. American Red Cross has a preparedness brochure online, and they'll also mail it to you, called Disaster Preparedness for Seniors and by Seniors. Not only is it extremely complete to include winter preparedness, but it's written from the perspective of those of us who are older, so it's really meaningful to you. The National Institutes of Health has a health-oriented winter weather safety that folds into COVID safety at the same time. It's a really good resource for you. And of course, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, has a ReadyGov location for seniors specifically. So the question is, are you ready? So as you see in this slide, grandpa and grandson are together and they're both ready. But what's grandpa doing wrong? He doesn't have his mask up over his nose. Remember, mask covers your chin and your nose. And thank you for your time. If you have any questions, please ask at the end of the broadcast today, or reach out to your local emergency management agency. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next up, we have Patricia Dorn, outreach staffer from the Maryland Insurance Administration.
Hi, everyone. My name again is Patty Dorn, and I'm with the Maryland Insurance Administration. And I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes here about homeowners insurance. And the reason that we included homeowners insurance with this event for older adults is because a lot of older adults have their homes paid off. So they've already gone through that process of their 15 or their 30-year mortgage, and it's paid off. And so it then becomes your decision as to whether or not you're going to go ahead and continue on with your homeowners insurance. That was easy. If you had a lender, you have to have homeowners insurance. However, after you don't have a lender anymore, that's on you. And we're here to encourage Maryland seniors to continue with your homeowners insurance even after you've paid off your mortgage. And so the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go through a little bit about homeowners insurance today, and I'm also going to introduce you to the rate guide that we publish that will hopefully make it a little bit easier for you to shop for homeowners insurance and maybe make the whole process a little bit less intimidating. Next slide. So I'm not here for legal advice. That's what this slide says. Next slide. And real quick, my agency, the Maryland Insurance Administration, who are we? We're the state agency that makes sure that the insurance companies and the agents, the brokers, the insurance entities that operate in Maryland follow Maryland's laws. We license them to do business in Maryland, and we make sure that they follow those laws, and we monitor the solvency of insurers. So that means we make sure that they have the money to pay your claims. We make sure that rates that are charged in Maryland are not inadequate, excessive, or unfairly discriminatory. And we're the entity, we're the state agency that you can reach out to if you want to file a complaint against your insurance company or against an agent or a broker, as well as allegations of fraud. If you suspect insurance fraud, you can contact us as well. Next slide after this. I don't have a ton of time. So real quick, what is homeowners insurance? Why do I need it? Well, your home is likely worth a lot. It may very well and is in many cases your largest asset. And so protecting that financially is very important to almost everyone. So what does homeowners insurance do? Homeowners insurance helps you manage the financial risks of homeowners insurance. It can help you, or of home ownership. It can help you recover financially if there's a covered loss to your dwelling, to the home itself, to the property that you have, the personal property, the things that you have in your home, and those other structures that may be a part of your home, your garage, sheds, fences, and things like that. And homeowners insurance can also help protect you financially if someone is hurt or their property is damaged because of something you did or something that happens on your property, by providing liability coverage and possibly medical payments. Next slide. The basic parts of a homeowner's insurance policy include the dwelling coverage, so the home itself, which we touched on, the other structures, so the things like your garage, personal property, those things that you own and those things that you collect in your house, Additional living expenses. And this is a big deal. If something does happen to your home and you need to temporarily relocate, the additional living expenses can help you with those additional costs of having to say, live in an apartment for 12 months or something like that. Liability coverage, which we touched on, and the medical payments. Next slide. So I wanted to show you this. This is our rate guide, and this is something that we work hard on and we publish every 6 months for Marylanders. Right now, you're looking at the cover Homeowners and Renters Insurance, a comparison guide to rates. We have this book, which includes both of them. We also have one that does just say renters as well. Same information in each. You can request a hard copy of the rate guide by contacting us and just requesting that we snail mail you out a copy to your address. And that's great. A lot of people think that that's the easiest way to use these rate guides. But you can also use them. You can also see them on our webpage. And as soon as they're updated, we put the most recent copy on the webpage. And so that's always available. What you're going to see when you first open this rate guide is you're going to see this information that's here on the screen. And I know it's a lot. And I know it's probably relatively hard to see for those of you who are on the computers. But this is every county in Baltimore City. And then some of the counties in Baltimore City have 2 samples. And this is how we generate the different quotes. And so the rates that you're going to see on the other pages. Next slide. So here I've kind of zoomed in to help you understand how to use the rate guide. I've zoomed in here and I'm going to just use the first line as an example. So you open your book and you want to look at the rates for homeowners insurance. Let's say I'm somebody in Allegheny and in this Allegheny County. And in this example, it's somebody in Cumberland. And it's someone whose home value is $118,000. And home value means that's what their home is insured to. And this is a frame house. It's in a protection class 5, and that refers to the quality of the fire department and the distance to a fire hydrant. This person has a $500 deductible, water and sewer backup of $15,000, and $100,000 of liability. So this gets you into the ballpark. It helps you understand, okay, if I'm a person in Cumberland, I'm going to see quotes, and maybe my house isn't insured to $118,000, maybe it's $150,000, but it gives you an idea of how the different rates compare for the different insurance companies. Next slide. And now this is an example of one of the pages where we list those rates. And since it's a lot of information, next slide, we're going to zoom in here. So here we've zoomed in just to the very first insurance companies. This is not an endorsement in any way of the insurance companies listed here. It's just a snapshot. And you're going to be able to see here, I'm that person in Allegheny County. That's the very first column. These are the rates for a year. And you see the difference from company to company with the rates. And there's about 50 different companies in this book. Again, I want to emphasize that this is updated every February and every August. So this document is continuously being updated with the most updated rates. Next slide. And I just want to show you here that we have some little, we have this policy comparison worksheet. And if you decide to call 3 different companies and shop around, this will help you keep your information straight. Next slide. So just a couple other things. If you use that book, all of the contact information for the different insurance companies is in the back. And that's going to be the phone number, and that's going to be the website as well. So you can use it as a pretty comprehensive document for your homeowners insurance shopping. Just really quick, because I don't have a ton of time, tips for getting the most out of your insurance shopping. Make sure that you provide the same information to each insurer or insurance producers. So you're going for an apples to apples comparison. Okay, so if there's if you have a fancy painting and it's something that you want to have in your homeowner's insurance policy, make sure that it is included in every single quote that you get. So you're doing an apples to apples to apples comparison. Ask about discounts. If it doesn't come up, ask about them yourself. You might be surprised what you qualify for. Ask about the deductibles and ask about when they apply. We don't have a ton of time to get into deductibles today, but that's super important that you understand your deductibles. Ask what's covered and what is excluded in your policy. In addition to price, think about other factors such as coverage limits, so how much insurance you're purchasing, and customer service. And don't be afraid to ask your friends and your neighbors about their experiences with different insurance companies. This is some information on where you can go to get this rate guide. It's on our website, or you can call the number here. Next slide. And so a couple other things, because we're here today to just say, hey, if you guys are out there, if you're seniors who have decided to drop your homeowners insurance instead of carrying it, you really should rethink that, and you really should kind of put your toe into shopping around and seeing if there's a policy out there that will work for you. A couple of things that I want to talk about, and some people, even though you're seniors, a lot of people still have mortgages. Lenders can force place property insurance coverage, and some people may have force placed property insurance coverage. So that means for whatever reason, you did not go out and find your own homeowner's insurance, but you better believe that your lender is going to protect their own interest. And so they're going to go ahead and they're going to force place that property insurance coverage. And it might make you feel really good. You might be like, oh, that's done. The lender took care of it. I don't need to shop for my own insurance. Well, if you finance the purchase of your home, your lender may require you to carry fire insurance on that property. If you do not purchase the insurance, they may force place that coverage on you. And in that case, that coverage is to protect them and not you. And so even if you have something that's been force placed on you, we do highly recommend that you shop for insurance on your own. Next slide. If you have problems obtaining a homeowner's insurance policy, so if you're a person who has been convinced, I let it go, I let it slide, I didn't have homeowner's insurance for a few years, but I want it now. And you go out there and you make those calls and you start to shop, but you're being turned down. If you have been turned down by one insurer for homeowner's insurance, we recommend that you continue trying. Don't assume that you're going to be turned down by all insurers. But if you are unable to obtain insurance for your home from a private insurer, limited insurance protection is available through the Maryland Property Insurance Availability Program. That information is below. So it's the Joint Insurance Association, and that contact information is below. That contact information is also on our website. That contact information is also in our book on homeowners insurance. And I'm just gonna go ahead to the end so we can go to the Q&A, Joyce. Next slide. All right, and so there's a little bit more information on deductibles that I didn't quite have time for today, but you can contact us and email us if you have any other questions. This is our phone number here. our website as well. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my email address in the chat real quick. If anyone has any questions. And then we are going to take this to the Q&A part of our event today. If you do have any questions, please put them in the chat, and right now would be an excellent time to do that.
Patty, we do have one question that was sent in the Q&A,
Okay.
and this is for Paula. If you move to a different county or state, do you have to re-register your will?
The answer to that is yes. You should always have your will registered in a county or state that you're actually residing in. Yeah.
Thanks, Paula.
Absolutely.
I have a couple questions here. There a question for James. What do I do if I'm alone and I don't have close friends and family to help me as a senior in Maryland?
Well, actually, that happens all the time. During a snowstorm, our emergency operations center frequently gets calls from that. And what we recommend if you're in that situation is go ahead and reach out to your Department of Aging and Disabilities or your emergency management office. And they'll go ahead and link you up with services that can provide you with that. And actually, we're all the county agencies, and this is true for any county, are all tied together. So we could also reach out to social services. You will get somebody to help you, and we'll make that connection for you. In the meantime, you might want to look a little further out to family members that don't live immediate in the area, but might be able to come to help you, or maybe a trusted friend that lives out of the county that can come to help you, or maybe pick you up before the storm. So there's ways to get that.
Thanks, Jim. Joyce, would you mind going back to the presentation to my slide on force-placed coverage? All right, somebody just wanted to have a little bit more time with this slide. I can't remember if I read the whole thing through, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. So if you finance the purchase of your home, your lender may require you to carry fire insurance on that property. If you do not purchase the insurance, your lender may force place coverage on you. The lender obtains insurance on the property and requires you to reimburse them for the cost of premiums paid. Force-placed property insurance coverage generally protects only the interests of the lender and not you, the property owner. Thanks, Joyce. This question is for Paula. Somebody was asking, is the $5 charge a one-time fee?
Yes, the $5 charge is a one-time fee. So if you leave your will here for 1 year or 100 years, the same $5 covers you.
Thanks. All right, thanks. And to James, how do we subscribe to that emergency notification system?
Well, that's a really good question. So the one I showed was for the state, and you can actually go Google MEMA, M-E-M-A, Maryland Emergency Management Agency, mass notification, or you can download those two links that we showed, and those are available through the Google Store and through the iTunes Store. But in each county has its own separate system. So, for example, in Anne Arundel County, there's a free subscription, and our system does email, it does text, or it does voice messaging. And believe it or not, we do it in 21 different languages. So all of our counties and cities are becoming very cosmopolitan, so we have to be prepared for that. So you can take that information anywhere you want it, and you can also tailor it to what it is you want. Maybe you just want to hear if you have a tornado or a snowstorm coming, or whether you want to open all the information from all the different county agencies. So if you'll just look up your county emergency management office and literally say, fill in your county, Howard County Office of Emergency Management online, it'll bring up the contact number for your emergency management office, and they can set you up then very easily with a system that you can use. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
We have another question in the Q&A. How do I start writing my will?
Sorry. You can actually just jot down on a paper and pen some things that, you know, your assets that you have, who you would like to go to. It's very important to pick a personal representative, someone, again, who you trust, someone who you believe will follow your wishes. You can contact the law office to have an attorney do a will for you. There are some will kits that you can get online. Staples has a simple will form. You have quite a few options as to where you can actually have it prepared.
Thanks, Paula.
Absolutely. And also, we have packets here that list pro bono attorneys, some different agencies that were listed. So if you reach out to us, we'll be more than happy to mail it out to you to give you some type of information. And the packets are free.
Thank you. And I have one more question for James. Who do I contact if I want to talk to someone about my own personal situation with regards to emergency management?
So it's really the same answer I gave before. So if you're online or know somebody who can get online, Google your county's name and Office of Emergency Management. And all the offices of emergency management are connected to all the other county agencies. So if they can't help you directly, they can get you over to the right people at the Department of Aging or Department of Social Services. For example, in Arundel County, we have a food service line now, since so many people have been impacted by that. So we have a food service warm line, and we can get anybody free food if they need that. So again, reach out to your county or city and Office of Emergency Management, call that number or reach to the email that they give there, and they will hook you up with all the right people. We're all very well connected. I guarantee you, if you call that number, you will get help.
Thank you, James. Do either of the presenters or my colleagues from Maryland Insurance Administration have any questions or any comments before I wrap up? All right, seeing none, I want to thank everyone for attending this event today. I hope that you got some valuable information from us. The contact information for the presenters is right here on the screen. Please, if you're interested, if you like this event, if you're interested in attending other events by the Maryland Insurance Administration, please follow us on Facebook. You can check our website. And thank you all for attending, and thank you to the presenters, and we hope to see you again soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And also, a recording of this presentation along with the slides will be available on our website within the next few days.
Thanks, Joyce. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.